What began as a typical day in a small town turned deadly in Albion. Now, nearly 30 years later, we take a look back. Tracy Tudup joins us in the studio with a special report. Tracy.
Thank you, Jill. I sat down with many residents who lived through this, and it's clearly changed their lives. So tonight, we hear firsthand stories from survivors about a time when disaster struck, a community came together, they mourned, and then they rebuilt. When you think back 30 years ago, May 31st, 1985, what comes to your mind?
Just sheer terror.
The lights flickered off and they came back on, and then they went back out permanently.
When you heard the sound, thud, 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 of houses just being pushed right next to each other.
And this was?
Seconds.
I didn't know what was going on. I had never thought a tornado was coming through the town.
As soon as it was over, we got up and went out. There were houses laying in the middle of the street, trees everywhere. You could not see the main street from there, and it didn't seem real.
What was it like the next time you walked through town where the devastation struck?
It was horrifying. Just horrifying. Up to this day, I still can't just quite remember where everyone's house was.
The tornado went through here and then hopped to Cranesville, where it took out a complete trailer park. It just dissipated the trailer park, where 3 people were killed. 9 were killed here.
It was nearly 3 decades ago that residents here dedicated this memorial to the 12 people who lost their lives in that natural disaster that changed this town and their lives forever. Now, it reads in part, "No one is so rich that he does not need another's help. No one so poor as not to be useful in some way to his fellow man." Now, that's a message that continues to resonate here.
The response was just immediate and overwhelming.
What did you see in people as they were helping their neighbors out like that?
Love, care, concern.
I had a job to do, but yet everybody was there. I don't know where all the firemen came from, but they were here. They were digging people out at 11 o'clock at night.
I witnessed how they worked together always, and I saw it truly, you know, in motion.
The community fell into place almost as if it had been rehearsed, but a rehearsal couldn't have pulled it off like that. All these things going through your mind, you have a responsibility as a responder, you know, and the same way with the firemen. A lot of those people lost their homes. I don't know if any of them directly lost a family member, but they all had to do their job, and they did it regardless.
Caring, and that was evident here. People cared.
Coming up tonight at 11, these survivors tell us how the community worked together to rebuild their town and make it what it is today. I promise these memories will tug at your heartstrings, and they will certainly inspire you too. Sean?
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Tracy. It's been 30 years since an F4 tornado touched down in Albion. To this day, residents remember it like it was yesterday. Tracy Tudup sat down with some survivors and tonight shares their memories of that day.
Standing here today, we think back to 30 years ago when this town of about 100 houses and about 1,500 people lost everything. This town was devastated. You lost somebody in that tornado. How did you make sure you were okay?
You know, that person was gone. There was not a thing in the world I could have done to help that situation. But there were a lot of people who were hurting.
I don't know how many hugs I got that day.
Their lives will never be the same. There's people who are gone, who have been killed by the tornado. Those lives will never be, you know, the families will never be the same because those lives are lost.
There are still people that are hurting, and I don't suppose that they'll ever totally recover.
The tornado was Friday night. Sunday morning, our church was packed. We gave a chance during the service for people to get up and talk about where they had seen love expressed, the Holy Spirit moving, God ministering to people, and it was a tear-jerking testimony time.
I think really the community over the past 30 years has really come back, not the way it was, but it is stronger. We've lost lost a fair amount of population, lost a lot of homes, a lot of tax base. But at the same token, we still have a good community here.
How do you rebuild from that?
One brick at a time. And that's the will of the people that you see around us. As you see Albion has been rebuilt, you can see the different houses, and you know where the path of the tornado was because there are new houses in those areas. But those people help themselves.
Albion's a great community.
Miracles are the way we recover. That's what I remember.
So you were the one to help them recover.
Well,
Have you recovered?
oh yes, oh sure, sure. Why not? Why not? With a community like this, how can you help but recover?
It sounds to me like you have a great deal of pride in being part of this community.
I've lived here my whole life, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
Tracy Tudup, Jet 24 Action News.